Many times people get confused due to what they hear on the streets, due to what they hear in today's world, social media. They see and hear videos, comments that suddenly confuse them. The Sma, in the Sefer the Sma, the Sefer Meir by Arav Volkatz, who was also the Baal Prisha and Drisha. He wrote this Sma is a commentary on the section of Shulchan Aruch called Choshen Mishpat. And he says the following. We're talking about one of the great sages of our nation writing a critical statement that we need to live by. And he says the following. Our Masoret, meaning our tradition, is that the acceptable opinions shared in the streets is the opposite of the Torah. Where we learned from our sages that the da'at, the opinion of Baalei Batim, just the regular people, the commoners, if you will, is the opposite of the da'at Torah. So here we see that if you're spending your time socializing with people that are not avrechim, that have dedicated decades of their life to learning Torah, they're not extraordinary Talmidei Chachamim, but rather you're talking to people you know in the community, people you know from work, strangers from around the world, and they say something in regards to Torah, more times than not, whatever they're saying is the opposite of what Torah says. I'm talking about when they're mentioning their own opinions, not when they're quoting some sage. When they're mentioning their own opinions. Oh, I believe the rabbi said this. I believe God said this. I believe this. I believe that. You need to run away from such talk. Why? It is more likely, according to our Masoret, that whatever they're saying, whatever their opinion is, it's the opposite of the Torah. Not only is it wrong, it's the opposite of Torah. So much so that there was a regular frum Jew, but not a Talmid Chacham, that lived at the time of the Chazon Ish. And many things happened, and people noticed something. That whatever this guy says is always what the Chazon Ish paskined. It's always exactly what the Chazon Ish said. Now, when it happens once, twice, no one really pays attention, but people notice that every time he says something, this is exactly what the Chazon Ish paskin l'halacha. Now, this guy is not known as a scholar, as a Talmid Chacham. He doesn't learn Torah all day. So the rabbi came up to him and said, listen, I noticed that everything that you say, it's always what the Chazon Ish says. Have you become an expert in what the Chazon Ish says? He says, no, Kvod Harav. With all due respect, I don't really know what the Chazon Ish says. But I do know what other people say. You know, anytime I'm at work, I hear people talk in the market. On the way here, I hear people talk. People chit-chat outside of the synagogue. People chit-chat in the market, at work, and I hear them. And whatever they do, whatever they say, I made it a policy. I'm always doing the opposite. Without even realizing it, this frum Jew had the siyata dishmaya to fulfill the words of our sages and literally do the opposite of what the common opinion is. And of course, what the opposite is what the Torah says, and therefore we now understand why the Chazon Ish always paskin it, because the Chazon Ish obviously paskin what's in the Torah. Now, there are times that a person will get confused by these messages, but that's only because you allowed yourself to get confused, because you allowed spiritual filth into your mind. Instead of asking a Talmid Chacham which direction in your life you should go, you asked your friends, you asked your family, you asked all types of people that you care about, or they care about you, or they're friends with you, or perhaps even not friends with you. But you asked all types of people because you figured that their opinion is what matters. And sometimes you didn't even ask for an opinion, but you decided to read up about it because you saw somebody decide to say such and such. I heard a young woman tell me just the other day that she, Baruch Hashem, just broke off a shidduch. She just broke off a shidduch from the valedictorian, top student in one of these so-called frum universities. The best guy. She says, I don't know if what he said is right, but it sounded weird to me. And I said, what did he say? He says he would tell me that he thinks that women should learn Gemara and that the Brit Milah should be done by laser. These are just a couple of the examples. She says, I don't know what the halacha is, if you could do it or not, because technology has changed. And I said, you have no idea how blessed you are for breaking off this shidduch. Because this valedictorian, this best student in this university is an apikoros who is looking to change the Torah because he thinks that his opinion is more valuable than our sages, needless to say, than our Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. What many people don't realize, the Rambam says, in his commentary and introduction part of the Mishnah, he says that all of the debates that are out there did not exist at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu or even the sages. When you see debates by the sages in the Gemara, when you see all types of things, these are not things that occurred in a fashion like you think it happens today, where you have one opinion, another guy has another opinion, and both of you are fighting a debate to see who's right. There was no debate. First of all, there are certain things that are not debatable, such as Halacha Moshe Misinai. If it's stated that this Halacha, such as that the tefillin are black, it's Halacha Moshe Misinai. We don't need any support for it. We don't need any verse from the Torah to prove it. We don't need anyone to agree with us. Once we know this is Halacha Moshe Sinai, the debate ended. The debate ended. But then there are other things that are not Halacha Moshe Sinai, but rather they are verses from the Torah, and that's what the Halacha is. The Rambam says these were not debated. So then, why is it debated in the Gemara? The debate is not because the two sages did not know what the halacha is, but rather in order to show that all of the different considerations were reviewed, the ones you thought of, the ones you didn't think of, and the ones you can't even think of because you don't have the wherewithal to do so. All of them were considered, and still this is what the halacha is.